Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, April 25th, 2018. I'm Yvesta Boynes with the details. Converting his dream into reality, local businessman Leon Big Samuel has charted a path to enhance the lives and earnings of farmers here in SVG through the operations of the SVG Agribusiness Cooperative Limited. At a launching ceremony on Tuesday afternoon, Samuel, who is the president of the organization, said the agriculture sector is important to SVG's development. He added that his organization has seen it fit to propose the direct sales of produce to consumers to attract more sales and cost.
Agriculture has been treated as if it is a nasty job, it is not presentable, it is not beautiful. But this cooperative is going to make sure that all of this change and to bring respectability to the people in the industry that matter, which is the farmers. I personally believe that our country and our population is too small to have so much handlers handling the produce, and when it do reach the consumer, it's too expensive, and then it leave room for the importation of foreign produce. And that is what is the problem in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have to stop that, because right now it is not benefiting the farmers.
Samuel further outlined a number of incentives which the cooperative intends to undertake to further assist its members and the overall agricultural sector.
Honestly, I would like us to, the authority to really look seriously to let us get these in Kingston. Mr. George, I would like to see Digicel sponsor one of these. And we can allow the farmers to use them for free. Here is where we're going to set up to wash our produce. Where we're sitting right here now. And the next place, you see that big building with over 12,000 square feet of ground space, is where we're going to set up the fourth cold chain plant ever in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, powered by solar and generator. So we are calling on, we are serious about this, so we are putting the Venezuelan government and the Taiwanese government on notice, because we're going to need some help.
Chief Agricultural Officer Ashley Kane commended Samuel and his team for their efforts thus far and encouraged members of the public to give their full support to the new agribusiness cooperative.
Agriculture, we can do many things, and we can begin to lift again our country to the place where it once was and where we desire it to be. And I'm particularly hopeful, Bigger, that you would be an example and mentor the youth of our land. Some of the older ones, of course, yes. But on this auspicious occasion, Bigger, my challenge to you and my plea to you is to mentor the youth. Support Bigger today. Let us support his enterprise, and let us support others who with him would lift up atoms of space in our country, in our Caribbean nation, so that others would dream of better futures. But not only dream of better futures, but also of good things.
Featured speaker at Tuesday's launching event for the Agribusiness Cooperative, Jerry George, said there is a need to foster a greater cooperative spirit in SVG, where each one helps to lift the other. Noting that the benefits of cooperatives in developing a nation have been long realized, George emphasized the importance of an established community.
Understood that the community is important. Cooperative is about community. It's about people working together. The actual meaning, definition, it's a farm, a business, or other organization that is owned and run jointly by its members who share the profits and the benefits. Sadly today, each of us want to profit on our own so that we can show ourselves and our neighbor that I did it myself, I did it my way. And that's one of the things that's destroying our community and indeed our country.
The public relations specialist and social commentator said cooperatives are not just about the production aspect, but marketing as well, which he said should precede production and not the other way around.
And marketing is something that's a special skill. And I hear people say all the time, oh, we should let the farmers go and do some marketing. Farmers are farmers, they're not marketers. And we need to get the people who have the marketing skills and the connections out there to do the marketing. But you have to produce together. In other words, one of the things I think St. Vincent and the Grenadines need at this point in time is a proper study of our soils right across the country so that we know what grows best where. We're not planting first and then going to market. That's the big mistake that people make. The people who have to market has to go out first, ahead of the farmers. And go to businesses and people, whether it's locally or overseas, and say, what do you want?
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves is expected to take yet another course of legal action against proprietor of Nice Radio Douglas De Freitas and radio announcer and activist for opposition New Democratic Party Colin Graham. This was reportedly announced on Star FM last evening by the Prime Minister, who said his lawyers will be taking legal action for statements made on Nice Radio on a program hosted by Graham. In an interview this morning on Boom FM, proprietor of Nice Radio Douglas De Freitas apologized to PM Gonsalves for the libelous statements. He admitted that having to address lawsuits takes a toll on him financially as well as emotionally. De Freitas says that persons who use the media need to be more vigilant and cautious, and that Graham should have exercised better judgment.
What did you expect Colin to have done, though?
Well, just to cut the person off and say I'm not going to have this conversation because I don't have any information in my hand. There are certain things, when you are definitive, there are things you can't be definitive. You understand what I mean?
Right.
You can't call somebody's name. You could have said something like member of government.
Right.
But when you call somebody's name, you are really, really setting yourself up for without proof. I went through these things so many times. You know, many times I had to privately wrote Dr. Gonsalves on several issues, the things that happened. I mean, this is frustrating because what it's doing is destroying me and destroying my business and my family. And then you have these ignorant people in the diaspora who feel that they could call and say anything and believe that they are not affected.
De Freitas said he may be forced to shut down the radio station because of these ongoing issues and payouts.
Let's say Prime Minister goes through with this. What are you going to do? You're going to go on another appeal again because you've had to done.
Well, no, I just shut down the old rooming station. I find something else to do. I can't go back to people and ask people to pay them kinds of monies. I won't do it.
You will shut down the radio station?
Yeah, there's nothing else I can do. First of all, I can't raise money because of all these confusions. So it's basically what you're doing is destroying the radio station. And these ignorant people in the diaspora believe that they could do and say what they feel like. And you can't tell him, and if Colin is telling him, he can't authenticate what he's saying. Instead of he stopped, he persisted, and that's when Colin should have said, I can't take this conversation any further.
Graham also made an apology to the Prime Minister on radio today, stating that he erred in judgment. The veteran radio announcer says that he should have stopped the caller who was delving into alleged statements about the financial records of the Gonsalves family.
First off, I agree with a lot that Dougie said this morning, and I really sympathize with him. He called me last night because I was made aware, I guess around the same time that he was made aware of the Prime Minister's remarks and intentions on, I think, Star Radio. We spoke briefly about that, and I really do understand his position, and I really do sympathize with him as well, and publicly, because I was going to do it this afternoon when I came in on Boom. But let me take this opportunity now to as well publicly saying that the story is as it is this morning. To take the opportunity to publicly apologize for any damage that may have been inflicted to the Prime Minister, his wife, and his son Camilo. Son, what a caller said on the New Times program when I was host. Lack of the better judgment in all my experience over the years as a radio broadcaster. I should have stopped it right there and said, look, I'm not quite sure where you're going. There's no way that we can prove what you're trying to say.
Graham says while he does not have an immediate legal plan to deal with the matter, he does not want to see the radio station closed.
I have never taken the opportunity to go on the radio and publicly cuss or slander or defame anybody, because I think that is not my style, and that has never been my style. It is unfortunate that this now has happened, and I really do hope that the Prime Minister accepts my sincere and heartfelt apology, because it is really. And yes, we need, as both broadcasters and persons calling into radio stations, to be a little more responsible in what we say and how we go about saying things. I feel disheartened about it. I mean, when Dougie and what he's been through and all the struggles he has faced as a broadcaster, as a owner of a radio station, anyone would feel heartfelt to what Dougie is going through right now, and I do. Like I said, we spoke last night briefly when Ghost broke and what's not, and I could have, felt that he was disheartened about the whole thing. I mean, so am I too, as well. It's unfortunate. Circumstances is unfortunate, and like I said, that's part of the reason I too myself am offering my apologies to the Prime Minister.
The St. Vincent Electricity Services, VINLEC, today launched its Environmental Health and Safety Awareness Month of activities. Pointing out health and safety stands as a critical pillar of his organization, CEO Thornley Myers said the activities to be held throughout the month of May seeks to intensify efforts to get staff and the overall public more involved in ensuring their health and safety at the workplace.
Initially, we started this activity as Safety Week. We have now moved towards having it over an extended period in the month of April. Annual Work Day for Safety and Health at Work will be celebrated on the 20th of May. Promotes the prevention and occupation of accidents and disease globally. And here we're talking about accidents and disease in the workplace. So what we refer to, generally speaking, as our Safety Month, really addresses issues of safety and health in the workplace.
Noting that the month-long activities will incorporate all power stations and departments of the company, Maya shed some light on this year's Environmental Health and Safety Month theme, Safety Ties Us Together.
Where a significant amount of our employees are exposed to a high level of risk on a daily basis. They leave their homes, they leave their brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, wives and children, and they turn out to work. And we see it as our responsibility and our duty to make sure that we do everything in the workplace to ensure that they return to their families safely. So in referring to our team, Safety Ties Us Together, we are not just speaking of employees. We're speaking of the employee, his team, his or her team, collective, and his family.
Some 90 medical students left these shores today to recommence their studies at the Dominica campus of the All Saints University. The students were transferred to the campus here in St. Vincent following the passage of Hurricane Maria last October, which devastated Dominica and damaged the campus there. Around 80 students left by boat and the others by air. Assistant Registrar of the All Saints University SVG campus, Louis Deschong, said despite some challenges, they were able to adequately accommodate the students who adjusted well to SVG.
Initially, it was a stretch to get housing for everybody. When they came, we housed some of them for up to about 10 days in different hotels, and then we eventually worked through the housing for them. Some got housing the very night that they came or when they arrived at the airport, and others had to take a few days. But we got that arranged, and the students, felt comfortable after a while. They became integrated into our society, and they went to everything. Yeah, they went to the social life, but they also focused on their studies, which was important. Because we have a lot of students who've made it to the Dean's List over and over from both campuses, and they do so every time, there is the Dean's List that is being prepared.
Deshong added that the students faced a traumatic experience in Dominica with the passage of Hurricane Maria, and the university felt it was necessary to provide them with psychosocial support.
We have, there is a professor from St. Vincent who is a PhD in psychology, and we also have a resident counselor. And so they were able to mount an appropriate program to ensure that they, as in the students, were given the most appropriate form of psychosocial support upon arrival, and that was extended for a while until they felt comfortable, because it was important for them to settle down, because they went through a huge traumatic situation. To hear them talk about what happened on the night of the storm was amazing. Many of them came to St. Vincent, they lost every single thing that they owned, their clothing, their books, their laptops, everything. They came with just what they had on the night of the storm, and what they, that's all they had basically. And so All Saints had to provide additional support.
The assistant registrar at the medical school said given the experience, he believes it is now necessary for the university to implement policies to deal with unplanned occurrences.
There is always the plan to increase the student population, and we have had to go back to the drawing board now to put policies in place for all of these unplanned occurrences. And you'd understand and appreciate that we did learn from this experience, and so therefore there are things that All Saints has now got to do differently. There are certain expectations that All Saints must have every year when the hurricane season begins, and so there will be a little difference as time goes by, and we will seek in every possible way to make sure that we have a plan of action for these sorts of activities.
Residents near the La Soufrière volcano are this week learning more about the impact of the 1929 and 1979 eruptions, as well as the requirements needed for their communities to be volcano-ready communities. This learning process comes through a week of activities being hosted by the UWI Seismic Research Unit and the National Emergency Management Organization NEMO as part of Volcano Awareness Week. Director of the UWI Seismic Research Unit in Trinidad, Richard Robertson, said the activities include an exhibition where students of primary and secondary schools will learn more on the impact of the last two volcanic eruptions on the landscape and nearby communities.
This year we have Soufrière Glow exhibition, which is an exhibition that features mainly images, pictures, poetry, quotations from people who have experienced past eruptions, and it focuses on 1979 and 1902 eruption, looking at what mainly how it impacted on St. Vincent and Grenadines. So looking at how it has helped to shape the Soufrière itself, has helped to shape the landscape of St. Vincent, how it has affected St. Vincent both positively and negatively. We're looking at where people moved from and to in 1902 and 79. We're looking at how the volcano actually evolved during those two eruptions. So that's the exhibition. So that's one feature of the kids' visit. So they're going to have an exhibition, they're going to go around that exhibition and explain what it's all about.
Robertson said this year's activities also feature the launch of the Volcano Readiness Project, which is designed to assist Caribbean countries to prepare for volcanic eruptions. He added that the project will target communities located in the volcanic red zones and will assist their readiness for an eruption.
And to be a volcano-ready community, it means to be ready not just for the volcanic emergencies, so volcanic eruptions, future volcanic eruptions, but also to be ready and to be able to live successfully in a volcanic environment. Because a volcanic environment, you don't just have the volcanic hazard. The volcano do erupt very often, it erupts every now and then. But because of the fact that it's a volcano, volcanoes tend to produce a particular kind of landscape. You tend to have steep mountains. So first of all, you have mountains, you have steep mountains that's covered by loose material. And in the case, in our context, it's an island, so it has a sea, it slopes onto the sea. So you have hazards related to mass movement. So this loose material tends to get mobilized when rain falls, so that's why you have landslides. You might have rivers that then could flood along the coastline. You could have coastal processes like coastal erosion, you could have storm surge. So in the if you want to be volcano ready, we think that you have to have measures in place to deal with the multi-hazard environment that you live in.
The UE Seismic Research Unit Director said knowledge and training are crucial in creating volcano-ready communities.
There are three main components. It involves dealing with making people more ready to respond to events, and also it involves some element of evacuation, sort of what do they do in emergencies. The second component in a major will be expanding the knowledge and awareness of the hazards that they have and the community that they have, the environment that they have, what kinds of things they could be impacted by. And the third component has to do with adaptation, sort of how do they adapt to the environment so that they can live sustainably. So it would involve some element of training of people to respond to events in the community. You know, when something happens in these areas, they get cut off and people in the community have to respond.
Vincentian Justice Adrian Saunders, who will assume the post as President of the Caribbean Court of Justice on July 4th, has been appointed to the Advisory Board of the Global Judicial Integrity Network by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime Global Program for the Implementation of the Doha Declaration. Justice Saunders is also the chairman of the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers. The 10-member advisory board will help identify priority challenges and emerging topics in judicial integrity and assist judiciaries in addressing those challenges as they arise. Justice Saunders was appointed a judge of the Caribbean Court of Justice in 2005 and in February 2018. It was announced that he will be the third president of the CCJ.